For decades, Philippine journalists have been paying with their lives for reporting on sensitive local stories on corruption, crime, and the abuse of power. Since CPJ began keeping records in 1992, at least 79 Philippine journalists and media workers have been killed in connection with their reporting, the vast majority of them with total impunity. There have been a few convictions of hired triggermen and their accomplices, but none of the masterminds behind the killings have been brought to justice. That makes the Philippines the world's deadliest democracy for journalists.
Good afternoon. The President of the Republic of the Philippines and the President of the United States of America will now have our Q&A.
Thank you to both presidents. President Aquino, as a journalist, I'd like to ask you why 26 journalists have been killed since you took office, and I understand that there have only been suspects arrested in 6 of those cases. What are you doing to fix that?
With regards to the killing of journalists, perhaps we should state from the onset, I don't have the figures right here before me, but we did set up an interagency committee to look on extralegal killings, enforced disappearances, torture, and other grave violations of right to life, liberty, and security of persons. And in this particular body,
none of the democratically elected governments has been able to repair a justice system damaged by years of neglect.
When Aquino was elected to the presidency, we were really quite happy with the fact that this is somebody whose father was himself assassinated. He is the son of a president who supposedly brought back democracy in the Philippines.
Secretary De Lima, you have your marching orders. Begin the process of providing true and complete justice for all.
So we were expecting a lot from President.
Like his predecessors, President Benigno Aquino III has failed to come to grips with the problem. The killings have continued, cases have gone unprosecuted, and justice is delayed, if not denied altogether. As the country prepares for a change of government in 2016, the Committee to Protect Journalists investigated 3 recent emblematic cases and revisited the scene of the worst mass murder of journalists anywhere in the world. In November 2009, armed men ambushed and killed 30 local journalists and 2 media workers as they traveled in a convoy to remote Maguindanao province. In all, 58 people were killed in the attack. This gruesome massacre was a stark reminder of the danger reporters face in the Philippines.
In the Philippines, a lot of the cases are decided by political negotiations. It's not really the legal process that determines the outcome of a case. It's really politics. You have almost 5 years since the massacre, and yet no convictions are happening. You have more journalists killed, and you can't really blame the frustration that the families are feeling.
Journalist Gina de la Cruz was among the victims. She left behind 3 children.
Murag na wadaan may paglaom, anak. Galisod na may maayo hantod karon. A diferensya kaayo. Karon perting paita jud sa among kahimtang ron. Ultimo gata sa bata, wala gay may ipalit.
Journalist Ronnie Perante was another victim.
He's so very lovable person. In our family, he is a very good provider. I was shocked when that happened. I make a compilation, the start of the tragedy till now. The newspapers I collected. I said, your father is already dead and he cannot understand yet the situation why he is dead.
Justice is an uphill battle and always a struggle. The criminal justice system still has a long way to go before we can say that justice will be served to those 58 souls.
6 years after the massacre, members of the powerful political clan believed to be responsible for it are still being tried in court, and no end is in sight. In the meantime, several witnesses against the family have been murdered. Elsewhere in the country, the killings continue, and justice for murdered journalists remains elusive. In January 2011, a gunman killed radio host Jerry Ortega after his morning broadcast.
Jerry was shot right here. He was sprawling here, this actual spot. He was shot through the head, bullet entering his nape and exiting his right eye. Jerry Ortega was a very passionate speaker. He was eloquent on radio. Everybody listened to Jerry Ortega.
Lalong-lalo na po doon sa mga biktima ng pang-aabuso, biktima po ng mga hindi makatarungang gawain sa ating mga mamamahayag. Dahil alam naman natin, ang ating kasamang si Doc Jerry Ortega ay isa po sa mga biktima ng pamamaslang
dahil sa trabaho
sa mga journalists. Ayan, dito po sa lalawigan.
He's a very fair broadcaster. He's getting all sides of the stories. And he also taught that to us. Don't just report news without confirmation, without verification, and without documents backing you up. Mainly, he's tackling corruption issues and tackling environmental issues, illegal logging, mining issues. Palaweños love the environment, really, very, very much.
Jerry is very passionate about being an environmentalist ever since we were young, when we just got married. Actually, probably even before we got married. But he's also a gifted person. He knows how to talk, he knows how to communicate to people. His heart is very soft on people who are not given the right services from the government. He has been on to ex-Governor Reyes for a long time because he has seen what is happening inside the Capitol. The last election, the governor ran as congressman and he lost. That was the first time he lost. And I think that motivated the governor to murder Jerry.
Court testimony pointed to Governor Joel Reyes and his brother as the masterminds.
I am helpless because I'm just an ordinary citizen. And it seems to me that we have a lot of lawyers, we have a lot of justices, judges, and a lot of police, investigators, and yet nothing's happening.
Ortega's unresolved murder underscores the national government's failure to reverse the climate of impunity. In August of 2013, a gunman killed photojournalist Mario C. in front of his family.
After nung binaril si Papa mo, anong ginawa mo?
Nagtanaw ko sa lalaki, tapos pagtanaw niya, yawa tayo siya, tapos nagpala lang sa iya.
Nakano siya naka?
Mario C. Was gunned down about 7:40 p.m. of August 1, 2013. The victim was resting at the sofa located at the living room of their house when one unidentified male person surreptitiously opened the main door, pulled a gun and shoot the Mario Maximo C., which resulted to his death.
C's photos of the illegal drug trade in his neighborhood were considered a likely motive.
RUC for quite a long time. He submitted some of his photos to us. In fact, the last time I refused to accept that photo. I told him it will give some risk to your life.
Brother is a faithful man, he's a good man, and even he's generous. He takes care of all the need of their family. And he's also known in the General Santos City. And when it comes to camera, there's a crime or whatever, he will go up there and then interview some politics or crime or whatever incidents.
In November of 2012, President Aquino signed Administrative Order 35, creating a new task force to handle the investigation of murdered journalists and others.
This is how we do it. If the motive remains unclear, we assume it is work-related until such time that we have a definite evidence to support it that it is not work-related. So at the instant of the incident, we assume it is work-related. The person is not a practicing journalist because he is a photographer. He's just getting paid 50 to 100 pesos if he shows some photograph contribution to the newspaper.
C's family and colleagues believe police stopped pursuing the case to pursue influential people behind his death.
What the police is doing? I think, to avoid some pressure, just to forget the case of Mario. That's very simple. Simple reason.
I hear that they're going pursuing it, but now I hear now they're silent.
So the status of the case is cold?
Not, yeah.
Since her death at the hands of two gunmen in April of 2014, reporter Rubilita Garcia's house has stood empty. In her writing and her radio broadcast, Garcia was an outspoken critic of corrupt local officials.
Tapos may naghahanap. Sabi nung pamangkin ko, sabi niya, tita, may naghahanap. Yung dalawang suspect. Kayo po ba si Ruby? Paupo po yata, paupo siya ng ano. Kasi nung nagpagbaba ng anak niya, nakaupo na siya dito. Sabi, tulong gumanyan siya. Kasi nung ano na siya.
The murder happened in the broad daylight of April 6, 2014. The gunman shot the victim thrice or 4 times.
Tapos po, yun po, nung narinig ko po yung may pumutok po. Akala ko po kuryente lang po. O kaya may naghahabulan po ng baril. Hindi ko po alam na sa loob na rin po mismo pala ng bahay po namin.
After the shooting, the gunman just walk away as if nothing happened.
Tapos po nung sumilip po ako dun sa balcony ng rooftop po namin, nakita ko po yung kapatid ko pong babae. Nagsisisigaw po, umiiyak, nagsisisipa po. Tapos bumaba po ako agad. Tapos pagbaba ko po, yun po yung tinawag po ako ng mother ko. Binuhat ko po siya. Tapos yung kamay ko po dumulas po sa katawan niya kasi marami na pong dugo sa katawan niya. Sabi niya po, Nap, binanatan ako, hepe ng tansa. Conrado Villanueva. Still, parang hindi niya pinaparamdam sa akin na pero alam ko masakit. Sobrang sakit po, nararamdaman niya.
Chief of Police Conrado Villanueva was forced to step down after the accusation.
Walang kinalaman sa pagkamatay niya. Hindi ko maintindihan bakit gano'n. Sobrang naman ang naging galit ng taong ito sa akin. Wala naman akong ginawang masama sa kanya.
Kwento ni Villanueva, nagkaroon?
Kasi po, nung nandun po kami, yung nasa burol pa po kami ng mami ko. Nung pagkatapos po nung tumira po kami sa tita ko, marami pong naghahanap sa amin, tsaka sa tita ko. Mga hindi po kilalang tao. Tapos one time, mga madaling araw po, may tao pong parang gustong pumasok po dun sa bahay ng tita ko. Tapos narinig ko pa pong nagsalita na yun nga na parang gusto na nilang pasukin yung bahay para matapos na po yung ano.
And that's when we help them in applying for the benefits being given under the Witness Protection Program.
Witnesses to media killings are frequently targeted before they can testify in court. Those who enter the government's Witness Protection Program live in virtual detention.
Ano po, nakakalungkot po kasi po hindi po ako makatulog dun kasi iba po yung nasa loob ko ng bahay mo sarili. Kasama mo yung mother ko po, tsaka yung kapatid ko, yung pamilya ko po.
It's not easy to administer a program like the Witness Protection Program. There's never-ending challenge there. We've been trying to encourage witnesses to trust the program.
Parang kung sino pa yung nagawa ng ganito po, ng kasalanan, ba't siya pa po yung kailangan magtago? Dapat di po ba yung gumawa siya po yung nagtatago, imbis na kami nandun sa labas nakakapag-umpisa kahit papaano. Ito po, nandito po kami sa programa para po sa seguridad po.
I always get asked that question. When do you think the killings would stop? I don't think it's really going to stop. Not in my lifetime, not even perhaps in the next generation.
Well, I respect the opinion of those who espouse that opinion, but we're doing what we can. We're doing our best. We continue to be committed.
The lack of justice in Jerry's case has jaded us all. I'm not anymore too optimistic that most of these cases similar to Jerry's will be given justice in the end. So,
kaya while we are celebrating today his birthday, nagpapasalamat tayo for the gift of life to him and for his giftedness to us. Diba? Regalo siya sa atin regalo sa bayan.
I think it's a whole world problem, or whole nation's problem, because a lot of cases now, until now, it's not been yet solved. That's why I say to myself, my brother is a small people here, so how can the cases of my brother be solved? Because he's a small people here.
To make a dent on that culture of impunity, we need to get convictions. Speedy justice without hasty work, and, deliver on his promise that indeed there is a straight road ahead of us.
Nagdadasal po ako palagi. Naniniwala pa rin po ako na meron pa rin pong hustisya. Ang hirap po kasi mawala ng pag-asa, kasi pag nawala ka ng pag-asa, parang namatay ka na rin po.
For this case, I want a speedy justice. I hope before the end of President Pinoy term, justice, we receive our justice. We commit our justice.
Years after the Maguindanao massacre, no one has been convicted, and scores of the accused remain at large. The powerful politicians who allegedly gave the orders to gun down Jerry Ortega on the streets of his hometown remain at large. The local gangsters, believed to have ordered Mario C. killed in his home, are still dealing drugs in the poor neighborhoods they rule with impunity. And Rubilita Garcia's children still fear for their lives. A witness protection program had to hide them, while the shooters and masterminds who murdered their mother go free. As the Philippines moves forward to elections in May 2016, candidates must address the issue of how they are going to achieve justice for all Philippine citizens. As for the journalists of the Philippines, they and their families continue to face an unchanged reality. They remain easily and frequently targeted for their critical reporting, and their killers are as likely as ever to go unpunished.